Hi everyone, welcome back if you've been here before, welcome if you're new. My name is Stephanie and this is Stephanie Builds Wealth. Here on this channel, I'm doing a bit of a social experiment using myself as a guinea pig, implementing the experiences I've had from going to low income to high income, back to lower income, and using my training in psychology for pattern recognition and behavior to show a different way of how we get into financial situations, why we think the way that we do with money, and how we can use that information to empower ourselves to make better choices in the future and help build a more financially stable and abundant home for ourselves and pass that information on to our children and basically change the legacy of financial freedom and abundance within our families. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please go ahead and like this, subscribe, and share this with your friends. It helps the algorithm. So today's video is going to be a fun video, I think. What we're gonna do is we're gonna update all the debt that we're starting with in January of 2024, since I started very late in the end of last quarter. And there was a bit of an addition problem and I fudged up the numbers somehow. So we're gonna start fresh with our still six figures, including the mortgage, because mortgage is a debt. I don't have a renter that's paying it anymore, I'm paying it, so I'm including all of my debts as a running tally. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with that. And same thing for January, the manifesto, the subliminal programming is I am wired for success. And again, I'm very happy that I've done a great deal of inner work to where I can look at these messages and I no longer get pushback within my body. Before, when I used to when I would start rewiring my mind and reprogramming the patterns that I have, anytime I would give myself positive comments about money, being good with money, being trusted with money, being wired for success, I would always have that internal pushback and that, negative inner dialogue, basically negating the fact that I was not meant for success, that I was doomed to repeat all these failures. And I wouldn't allow myself to believe and accept that there could be a positive connection with me, my family history, and what I'm doing with money. And it's taken a great deal of work, the majority of last year, to really be able to look at these things and feel in my body that this is true information. I'm not fighting it, that money is good, money is not evil, that I can have access to money. And if other people are getting access to money, the same thing can be said for me, right? So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the numbers. We're gonna do, and if you will see from last, so if you remember from last video, I was talking about how I was very excited that I was gonna have 3 open slots here because I had paid off that 2 of free medical debts and it freed up a slot. I did, however, forget that I do need to repay the overpayment from my reimbursement insurance. I did call and I was able to get to the bottom of why I was overpaid so much, why I was overpaid at all. And turns out with the reimbursement insurance that I have, when you have a short-term disability policy combined with either an accident policy or reimbursement policy, the company, in order to make things easier for their customer, will automatically disperse a disability claim because they're naturally assuming that you're not able to work at your full capacity. So they disperse the money right off the bat when you submit a claim of an injury or illness, and then that gives you time to file paperwork and then get the confirmation from the doctor with the physician statement confirming that you are not able to resume normal work. Now for me, that didn't apply this year because I had retired for my surgical tech job last summer, and I now have the ability to work from home. So, and my particular injury didn't affect my hands or the ability for me to, think and do complex mental work. So I didn't need that anymore. And I never made any changes to it now that I was going from a physical labor job to a work from home admin position. So that's how that happened. Now I know, and I could be very upset and irritated and have the victim mentality that, well, woe is me, this always happens to me. But I also realize that that is a very insecure mindset. That's a very scarcity mindset. It's a very victim mindset. And I'm choosing to look at that. When I used my reimbursement insurance, that was the first time I had ever used it. And every other experience up until that part has been extremely positive. They have paid me out well over $2,500 that was able to go towards several medical bills and physical therapy. So I am grateful for that. And I'm also grateful that now I know moving forward that if I'm ever injured and I don't need the disability and I'm overpaid, I'm going to verify the amounts that I'm being dispersed through there's like a letter of disbursement. I'm going to verify everything and make sure that I have what I'm supposed to have and then leave the rest. So moving forward, I have that information and that knowledge, and knowledge is power. I do also want to share that I went to my physical therapist yesterday, and I had a realization the day before that my insurance out-of-pocket deductible had reset back to zero, which meant that I was no longer getting my physical therapy sessions for about $9.75 per session. They were going to go up $65 per session. Now, I am ordered to have, by my doctor, I am prescribed to have three physical therapy sessions a week until further notice. And yesterday, I was feeling very cocky and I thought, you know what? I think I'm doing good. I'm going to go ahead and just keep doing physical therapy on my own, and I'm going to stop doing physical therapy because I am not in a position where I can afford to be paying with the copay amount 3 physical therapy sessions a week times 4 weeks in a month. That would come out to about $780. And I just don't have that to give only to physical therapy. So I went to my physical therapist. They did a progress report on me because I saw my doctor today, and come to find out that I am severely behind. I am not doing well. I've actually regressed quite a bit in my recovery because I had to start physical therapy so late. I'm having significant setbacks and having a lot of problems with my nerves and my muscles. So while he was explaining this to me, I realized I was having this internal conversation with myself, realizing that, one, this is very severe. And if I don't really stick to this new protocol that my physical therapist created, I'm going to have lifelong problems with my leg. And so unfortunately, that was not an option. And so on the drive home, I thought, okay, well, good, this is happening, a little bit before tax time, so that I'm going to reroute whatever money that I have to covering the cost of my physical therapy. And my plan was to put all of my charges on my paid off Discover One, and then just pay everything off with my USA Bank credit bonus, and then take whatever I needed left from my tax return, and then just redo my debt payoff strategy. What ended up happening is when I talked to my boyfriend about it, he was incredibly gracious and told me that it was non-negotiable to not stop going, that it was very serious, and that I needed to maintain this. So he very generously gifted me the money to continue going to physical therapy. So I'm incredibly grateful that he was so kind and generous to do that. And so I'm happy also to report that I don't have to put in that debt in here. We are still able to look at this and have 2 blank spaces and then work our way through the list. So that is what's happening with the debt update at a glance. And very grateful that I didn't have to put on $2,000 worth of debt for my physical therapy back on a card I had just paid off. Because that was pattern that I was noticing, is that as soon as I would pay off a card, something would happen and I would have to jump back to using the card for an emergency situation instead of being able to use a credit card for the benefits of getting cash back or points. I was a little down about that, but I was also realizing that, again, I was in a very privileged place to be able to even consider that as an option. There are lots of people out there in the world who have maxed out their cards based on survival or out of spending habits. And if something with their health were to happen, they would not have the luxury of putting anything on that card for their health. And we all know that there's a lot of people out there who have health problems that they can't get treated because they don't have the liquid cash to do it and they don't have the credit to do it. So I was prepared to do that. And I also checked my privilege to be able to do that. And then my boyfriend gifted me the money to continue going to physical therapy. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. I really, really am. So let's see. I have updated all of the numbers as current as we can get. I have not received my booklet for 2024 for the state repayment, so I'm just guesstimating that it's going to be this because, again, there's no interest on it, so it should be that, and I'm not late on anything. So, well, I should say that I submitted my payment before the due date. They cashed it after the due date, but I would hope that that's on them. I would hope that that doesn't affect anything on my part. So we are going to start with the surgery copay at $11.77. There is no interest on this. Amazon, $21.97.76. Discover 2, $20.45.95. Okay. 2309 for Bank West. There's no interest on that either. Mattress 4200 Firm 1966.87. So this is at least $1,000 less than it was back in December, because as I was playing around with how best to free up as much money as possible in my budget, I realized that if the amount that I was putting on here before was with all the interest included, with me paying it off in 36 months, and I realized that I'm going to restructure my payoff strategy with my tax return and my US bank credit to paying a firm off first, which will free up $88.28 a month and knock out that interest, because that is the highest interest of everything that I have. So I figured, let me knock out not only the highest interest, but also it'll free up a significant chunk of money. My credit union credit card, 3131, all right, 3131.30. Car note is 9210.75. Consolidation loan is 10071.70. School one, 8756.77. School loan 2.79. State is 19967.2. Overpayment is 98. Oh shit. 2. Overpayment is 980. So if we were to add that up right now, my consumer debt is $78,227.09. I'm going to write that down really quick here. So let's going to be 78. Nope. 709. Okay, and we'll do total. All right. And with the mortgage, it is 173,008, 81, 251. Yes, 251, $235.09, which is silly. Okay. 251, 235.9. All right. So we are going to do a little bit of a marker board situation that we are going to keep for the rest of the year. So let's see, what do we call this? We're going to call this 2024 financial action plan. Okay. January starting debt. We'll do consumer and total. So consumer debt starting in 2024 is 78,227.09. Total 251, 235.09. And then we'll do paid at the end of the month. We'll do a paid here. So I'm going to keep this as a little tool throughout the year. All right. You know, I have to say, looking at this number, I feel pretty impressed that even with adding on an additional $980 from the overpayment, I'm still under the 80,000 mark, which is where I think I was at last year by November. Very excited about this. I know that seems crazy, but listen, I will take all of the wins. There's no such thing as a little bit of money or a little bit of win. I don't want to downplay or make anything small. I think we should celebrate everything because, again, life is way too short. If I've learned anything from being a surgical tech for 12 years, nothing is promised, nothing is guaranteed. So no better time to rejoice and celebrate and be grateful than the present. So that's really neat that even with the additional almost $1,000 of debt from the, is it a debt if it's an overpayment? I mean, I suppose so, because I do owe someone X amount of money. So yeah, so even with an additional $980, I'm still well under 80,000. This one, when I called and asked them, how do I pay this and where do I send the money to? They were very open and willing to allow me to pay it and come up with a plan. So I don't have any interest on this. There's no regimented structure. So I think what I'm going to do is I will make that very low priority since it's not on a payment plan dedicated by the company. It's not, there's no interest being charged. There's no expiration date like these two are. I think I will make that very low priority because I still want to attack my higher interest debt. just because mathematically, with my income being so much tighter than what it was at the hospital, even though it might seem mentally pleasing to just knock out the smaller numbers first, mathematically, I cannot afford to keep paying smaller balances while I let bigger balances with interest rack up, because the amount that I pay for this could easily double in a couple months with interest for the things that I do have with high interest. So what is my plan of attack this year? Because I am short in my budget every month since, when was it? When I started paying back the state, I am short a little over 364, if not closer to $400 a month in my budget. And the only way that I'm able to get by right now is because I have my utilities and my monthly subscriptions going to Discover 2, since there's no interest on that. I've had to be really strategic and think to myself, okay, Stephanie, you are banking on money that is not even allocated yet, which is dangerous. You are banking on a raise, which you don't even know is going to be worth anything. I mean, there's companies out here where the standard merit increase is 2%. And I've done the math. And if I were to get a 2% increase, that would only be maybe $20 a month extra. So that would be nothing. So I'm banking on funds that are not even available yet, and I don't even know what they'll be. I mean, for all I know, I could only get back $1,000 for my taxes. I could get back 50. I could owe. I don't know. So it's very dangerous territory right now, and I'm paying Discover 2 every paycheck to keep it down so it doesn't get maxed out. I was thinking, how can I be the most strategic to free up as much money a month so that I can not just meet the short, but surpass it? And I was playing around with the numbers. So the plan of attack is to pay off Affirm first, then Amazon, was Affirm, the surgery center, and Bank West. If I'm able to, then I will pay off the bank credit card, my credit union bank credit card that I don't use anymore. So freeing those things up would put me closer to $600 in the positive instead of the negative of the almost 400 that I have here. That is the game plan for 2024 in the first quarter. So let's see, how am I feeling about this? Considering where I started last year, considering my mental and emotional state last year, I am feeling very good. And I understand if that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but it's a huge mental shift. It's a lot of inner work and a lot of being honest with myself and a lot of checking my privilege. That is something that I have been implementing into my mindset, is that I'm first generation American for my family. My mom and dad did not grow up with the same accessibility to things like I do. The internet was not a thing back when they were growing up. That didn't exist. The things that are considered, how do I say this? Like expected to be in your life as you grow were not a thing that was accessible to my parents. So that is something, and you know, when I was younger, we would go visit family in Mexico, and when you are raised in a country where everybody has housing, I shouldn't say everybody, obviously there's people that don't have housing, but where the majority of people have access to housing via living with family and friends in a house with AC and heat and plumbing and running water, safe water, they have front yard or backyard, or they have a patio or front porch, they have a roof over their head, they have beds, they have mattresses, they have clothes, they have shoes, they have a pantry that has food in it, even if it's just a little bit, they've got a fridge, they have electricity, all these things that is just very common and expected, and almost to a sense of entitlement that that's just what we have and anything less is unacceptable. When you are living in a life of duality, like I have been, and I have parents from two different cultures across two different parts of the country, the world, you get a taste of what privilege is on a daily basis. You get a taste of how lucky we are on a daily basis. And you have a lot more empathy for people when you realize that what we're growing up with is just not in the realm of reality for millions of people in the world. When I was little and we would go visit family in Mexico, there was two sets of family in Mexico. We had family members that were very well off, and they lived in a mansion, and they were very well off financially. They had a lot of things. They never wanted for anything. And then you have family that we're staying with who they are living in the slums. They are living in little tiny brick houses where there's no running water or heated water. There's, dirt flooring. I remember we had family that were so excited to have us come visit them when I was little. And I didn't know that there was not hot water in baths. And they were setting up a, what is that called? Like steel galvanized bin, that you would see on farms. They were setting that up in the backyard, and their backyard is basically just like dirt. It was just dirt and rocks, and there was farm animals, and there was horses and chickens and goats and little pigs and whatnot, and that was life for them. And I remember them filling up the bathtub, and it was freezing cold water because they didn't have heated water. They were just happy to have running water. And then I remember I was little, I didn't know any better, and I was complaining that I didn't want to take a bath because the water was freezing. And so these amazing human beings were trying so hard to be great hosts, and they were just so happy we were here, that they would take water from outside, put it in a pot on the stove, and heat up the water, and then put it in the bath so that I had enough warm water in the bathtub to just rinse down and take a nice warm bath and then be done with my bath. And I think about that all my life. And when you get older and you think back to those things and you understand what that meant, what it cost in that time for people who didn't have much and were doing the best they could to accommodate and make their family and friends happy and feel safe and feel welcome. And I remember feeling so much guilt and cringing at the fact that they were going out of their way to put water in a pot, heat it on the stove, and then pour it into the bath so that I had enough water in the tub to rinse myself off. It was literally just a bath to wash my hair, wash my body, and get out of the tub. There was no reason for me to be whining and complaining and have the expectation that there would be hot water there. My mom could have very easily pulled me to the side and said, sweetie, they don't have that here. We're just gonna, if anything, if you don't want to be in the cold bath, we'll just do like a quick wash rag, no big deal. We have so much privilege in this country. We have so much. And it's so easy to lose sight at the fact that we are so incredibly blessed. And the things that we complain about and we whine about, it would make us cringe if we had even half an hour of perspective about how other people live on a daily basis. And that is their life every day. I don't think many people can even contextualize in their mind what it would be like to wake up in a house with no heating and want to make breakfast for your family. And you don't just open up the fridge and you grab your organic eggs and you pop them in your pan and you make eggs. You have to get up, it's cold out, there's no heating, or it's really hot out, there's no AC. You have to go out to the barn, go get eggs from the chicken, but not too many eggs, because if you get too many eggs, then you don't have any more chickens, and then you're in a problem. So realize that you have to be very mindful of the resources that you have. And even if you're really hungry and you're used to eating 10 eggs every morning, you might only be able to have 2 eggs, or you might only be able to have 5 eggs because that's all the eggs that are available, and you've got to split that with the whole family. We have so many things to be grateful for here that it changes perspective a lot for me. You know, as you get older and you understand the cost of things, when people don't have much and they give you what they can, it is such a beautiful gesture of kindness and gratitude. And I want to instill that in my mindset and in my life and in my daily practice as much as possible. So I could sit here and complain about my debt and how unfair things are, but the fact that I even have access to get these things is huge. And I definitely splurged on my mattress, but I'm not upset at myself. I'm not beating myself up. This has significantly enhanced the quality of my sleep, which has improved the quality of my physical health, my mental health, and I'm incredibly grateful that I even have access to do that. So I could complain and beat myself up about this, but I'm not. Everything else here, medical, that was a need that I was privileged to have access to. Amazon, this was something that helped me be able to take care of a couple things while I was unemployed. If I didn't have cash money in my hands to go get groceries, I could put my groceries on my Amazon card and then go pick up my groceries. Discover, I'm able to put my utilities on here while I am short until I can correct the short and then pay that off. Bank West, that was a balance transfer from a medical issue I had last year. Let's see, bank credit card, car note. Again, I'm so privileged to even be able to have access to a car and be able to even drive a car. Amazing. That I was able to qualify for a consolidation loan to combine all of my debt from being unemployed for 3 years. Well, for 2 years at that point, then I was laid off after I got this. But the fact that that's even an option for me to correct that is amazing. My school loan, I was able to go to school. I was able to get access to an education. Do I think that school loans are a scam? I absolutely do. But being able to go and be a surgical tech gave me a very unique experience in life in which I learned a lot of things about life as a surgical tech. Paying the state back, this does suck that I had to have to pay this back from a misunderstanding of how to file, but that money did keep me afloat for that year that I had it. And if me being able to pay this amount back so that another family in need can have that, I'm okay with that. The overpayment, that was unfortunate. But again, I had over $2,500 worth of money that was supposed to come to me that did go to help managing my cost of recovery and my medical expenses. My mortgage, again, incredibly privileged that I'm able to qualify for a house and have a home and have the rates that I do and have the payment that I do. So one of the things I was working on in my presentation to work on emotions with you all, my money story, I thought, wouldn't it be a really interesting way to change perspective and look at the exchange of money as a good thing, instead of looking at the exchange of money in a negative way, in a stressed out way, in a way of anger, where what if we can change our perspective to saying, wow, I am able to give back to the state so that my contribution can help someone else who does need it in their hour of need. How lucky am I that I can give back this mortgage payment so that I can stay in this home that is in an amazing area, gives me protection. I mean, it's freezing outside here in Las Vegas right now, and there are people out there who are homeless. There are stray animals out there who are just, soldiering on through the elements. So that is something that perhaps maybe will help a lot of people out there, is to look at what they have and realize that, wow, I'm in a position where I'm able to exchange my money to go back out in the world and come back to me and then do good. So I think that that's a wonderful way to look at an exchange of money. I think it's a wonderful way to look at debt. And if you are a person who is in debt because you have, spending problems, it's really easy to get in the mindset of being very negative and angry and very hateful and ugly with yourself, and making yourself feel really small and beating yourself up. And if your spending problem is coming from a situation where you've had a lot of insecurity and scarcity, and you're using money as a crutch to make yourself feel safe, or you're using it as a dopamine rush because you want to feel good. When you look at your friends, you look at other people, and you see that they have this thing and it makes them look a certain way or have a certain way about them, and you feel that you want that too. It would be very beneficial to sit with yourself if you have a spending problem, and really be vulnerable with yourself, really be honest with yourself, and really have a come to Jesus conversation and talk to yourself from a place of compassion and understanding and openness, instead of talking to yourself in such an ugly, hateful, mean, nasty, small little way. To say, I recognize that I have this spending problem. Where does it come from? When did this happen? What was the trigger? When I spend, what do I feel? Do I feel adequate again? Do I feel safe? Do I feel powerful? Do I feel fulfilled? And if those things are yes, where does that need to feel that way come from? Where did this start? Is there a way that I can work on myself, really dig deep and do the inner work and have these honest conversations and say, hey, I spend because it makes me feel like I'm not missing out. It makes me feel like I am equal to the person next to me or my friends who have this amazing life. And I want that. I want to look like I've got it all. I want to look like I've got this amazing lifestyle, or I want to look like this influencer. And really ask yourself, why do you want to look that way? Is it possible that you are able to have that feeling come from a healthy place by maybe rebuilding your friend circle to having more meaningful connection instead of more shallow connection, or whatever the case may be? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there for starting dialogue and starting conversation and starting a mindset that maybe you don't have and maybe you don't even know exists, because we don't know what we don't know. So how do you ask a question when you don't even know that's a question to ask, right? So it's my hope that as we move forward in for the rest of 2024, not just January, that as we are doing our our debt payoff, our financial abundance strategy, how we are attracting wealth to us, how we are nurturing wealth, how we can show that we do trust money and money can trust us. How are we growing that? How are we investing? Are we making smart financial choices? Are we coming from a place of gratitude and recognizing that we are coming from a place of privilege every single day? We're not waking up, brick houses where we have to put, steel tubs on fire to make a warm bath. We don't have to put steel tubs on fire in the backyard to do our clothes. Even the ability to have a washer and dryer in your home is incredible privilege, and a lot of people don't have that. Sometimes they have to go to like a laundromat to do that, or they have to go to a place on site in their apartment that has a laundry, and a lot of those places are not safe. It's scary to be in there. Your clothes get stolen. The fact that you can even just go into your laundry room and do laundry is so lucky. So hopefully moving forward, the more we work together on this, the more we start changing our mindset, the more we start changing the world around us from our own lens of our own experience, we can start to feel better about our financial situation, realize that the way that the financial situation is set up in this country, it's designed to keep people ignorant. It's designed to make people hate themselves and feel really ugly, unhappy, unkind feelings and thoughts about themselves. It's designed to confuse people because at the end of the day, corporations need workers to make money off of their backs. So it's not a secret that we grew up and didn't have access to education, as like financial education. It's not a secret that a lot of us are carrying around an average of 30 grand of student loan debt. $20,000 of consumer debt. It's not a secret that this is happening. And it's also not a secret if life happens to you and you become unemployed and you have people depending on you for their livelihood or their food or medicine or care, that you have to rack up credit card debt. It shouldn't make you feel these ugly, unhealthy thoughts about yourself. If anything, I would think that that's such a trait of resiliency that you racked up credit card debt because you were taking care of people around you in the best way you had accessible to you at the time while you were looking for work, right? You weren't just sitting there racking up credit card debt, just living the life, with no care in the world. Tough choices had to be made, and you made the best decision you had with the information you had, with the resources you had at the time. So could I beat myself up that I had to take on a consolidation loan of over $10,000? I could, but at the same time, I racked that up, cash advancing my monthly expenses for 2 years, on and off for 2 years. And I knew that there was going to come a time where I would have to pay the bill, so to speak. And I'm glad that I can pay this bill and be able to afford it, because this kept me alive and this kept me going for 2 years. And now I'm in a place where I have stability finally, I have steady income finally, and I am going to make it a point to work my way out of this with perspective and grace and a positive mindset. And I really hope that you all join me in that journey and you can give yourself the same grace. I do wish you all an amazing 2024. And I'm hoping that with more of these conversations, just to start dialogue, that you will feel that you are wired for success, that you are feeling you are able to talk to yourself with grace and gratitude and change your mindset. And I will see you all on the next video. Thank you so much for sharing some of your day with me.